And on the second to the last day, we're riding from Santa Monica to Newport Beach. And Scott Kaplan, one of the great supporters of CAF, the night before at the dinner, he tells everybody, guys, ride with Bill. Lots of stories, great time, lots of fun. Because all those other crazies, they're out in the front just hammering down. We're in the back riding our bikes. We're celebrating. We're like, yeah, we're able to play. So one of the nicknames that I have in the world of cycling is always lost. And so we get out there, we're getting down to Redondo Beach and Torrance, and this ride is going to be a little bit too short for me, so I decide to take off with a couple of my friends and do some extra mileage out around Palos Verdes. And so I take off, and we go off, and we're up on the hill, and we're just having the grand old time. Catalina, the golf courses, Palos Verdes, absolutely unbelievable. We look back, and two of our challenged athletes had decided to follow us, thinking that we know where we're going. And so we stop and we say, look, we're just out here for a good time. You better go back with the rest of the group. Nah, Bill, we want to follow you. Scott Kaplan told us it was really cool. I said, oh my gosh, right? So we get going, and sure enough, I get lost. And we're no longer in Palos Verdes. We're in Wilmington and San Pedro, and it's just awful. It's just horrible traffic and bad roads, and we're coming down this real slight decline. And there are two challenged athletes, Chris and Gil. Chris, blown up in Fallujah, Special Forces, lost his leg. Gil, blown up in Afghanistan, brain damage, can't see, can't hear. They're on a tandem. Chris, able to power and see and hear. Gil, just the engine in the back, and they're just using the Challenged Athletes Foundation and their bike to give them that life back. They get out in front of us on this slight decline, and I'm right behind them, and all of a sudden this big SUV makes a quick left turn right in front of them and hits them and knocks them down, and they go flying off their bikes. And Chris is laying there in a pool of blood, and Gil is down, face down, blood coming out of his ears. Chris's leg, his prosthetic leg, is flown over there, and their bike is over here broken. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what has happened here? Now, the ambulances are coming, the paramedics and the fire department is absolutely incredible. And Chris, he gets up on his arms and on his one leg, and he hops over and he grabs that prosthetic leg of his, and he straps it on, pulls it on, and he goes over and he picks up that bike and he starts kicking it and bending it back into shape, and we're gonna figure this out, we're gonna get this job done. Now the paramedics, they come, the ambulance, and they look at Gil and they say, we can't let you ride, Gil. You've got that brain damage that we don't know if this is okay. And Chris says, I don't care what you guys says. I'm riding this bike to where we're going. I'm gonna get this job done. I'm inspired. And I'm like feeling so awful, the responsibility and the burden of getting this guy, these two guys out there, and then getting them in an accident, hit by a car. So we're going home now, and instead of the 5 guys that started, we now have 4. And Chris is on the front of that tandem, and he is just riding, and he's just thinking, and you can just see it, and it's just the lowest feeling of my life. And we get to the hotel, and everybody's, oh, what happened? You know, we hear the story, we heard the ambulances, Bill, you okay? And Chris, what's going on? And Gil, is he gonna be okay? And it's just awful. And then Chris from Tennessee, he reaches in his pocket, and he pulls out his Special Forces coin, the coin that all the guys who were sent to the very front to make sure things come out okay for us, they always carry. And he looked at me as he handed me this coin and says, Bill, I hope this helps to break the curse. When I got home, I talked to Bob and Nancy and Virginia and all the Challenged Athletes Foundation, and they were able to come up with the money to go buy Chris Self a brand new bike. And it was unbelievable. This beautiful bike, just so special just for Chris. And to see that gleam and glow and admiration and happiness right there on his face of a dream coming true that, yeah, tomorrow is gonna be better. And then Chris reached back out to me and he said, Bill, what's your address? What's your address, Bill? I didn't want to give him my address, not because I don't like him, not because my address is not known. It's 1010 Myrtle Way. I've been there for 33 years, right there on the edge of Balboa Park. But he was going to try to send me something. And So I gave him my address. A few days later, a package arrived from Tennessee, where Chris is from. And inside this package was this big box. And he had built this display. And it was a thank you bill for all that you do. Thank you for the inspiration. Thanks for the direction, the leadership, the focus, the efficiency, the discipline, and the execution. And thanks for showing us, Bill, how through the Challenged Athletes Foundation we can rebuild our lives. Because just think, Nico, Operation Rebound, getting that ball, starting that fast break, getting it going the other way. The best part of life, chasing it down, yeah. And inside this thing that Chris Self had sent me from Tennessee, not only was this inscription in Inspire, but it was also his knife. The knife that they give to the Special Forces guys. The guys who were just loaded down with the most unbelievable weaponry and communications and technology and the state-of-the-art everything. All the things that you guys are giving them on a constant basis. But the last thing they have when everything else fails is their knife. The one that just sits right there on that belt. And after I took him on that crash ride, he sent me his knife. Now, there's no way I can accept this. But when Chris Self comes back, he was just here in San Diego. Because 2 weeks ago, he started on his bike on the Race Across America, where he rode from Oceanside to Annapolis to the Naval Headquarters. Dreams do come true. And as we think of the inspiration and the organization and the ability to plan that tomorrow is going to be better, just think of the difference that you people make every single day. Because for people like Chris and Dan and the other Chris who's out there on his bike today, as I called him coming in here today, and I was saying, I got to get you that knife back. And he says, Bill, I'm not taking that knife back. That bike, that knife, Bill, belongs to you, as does the coin. And the inscription on this coin is pretty much the way we have to look at things. Because when that ball bounces the other way, and we're trying to find that inspiration, we're trying to find the direction, we're trying to find our way home. What does it say on this? That stuff will buff out. Folks, good luck. Realize the incredible difference that you're making. Use this inspiration. Use the tool that Chris and Lynn at Innova have given you to organize, to map the chart, to map the plan, to map the course, to get to the promised land. And realize that none of this, none of it, happens without you and your sacrifice. Stand tall. Be proud. Make a difference. Think back to all those people that have helped you. Think of the curse that may be on your life. Think of the responsibility. Know full well that this stuff, yes, this stuff, Chris, Dan, Chris, Bob Babbitt, Bill Walton, this stuff will buff out. I'm Bill Walton. I'm a challenged athlete, and I'm the luckiest guy in the world. Thank you so much, folks.